How are we doing there, boys and girls? Manthieus here, and welcome back to another video. So a few days ago, we did the tier list for professions in Dragonflight, and I talked quite a lot about inscription, but there seemed to be a lot of people that were less than impressed at me for not talking about the weapons that inscription makes. I've obviously mentioned Dark Moon cards because it's the big fiasco that happens at the start of every expansion, but people wanted me to showcase some of the other opportunities that inscription has. So that's exactly what we're going to do here today. Now, of course, I understand not everybody wants to be a scribe and not everybody is going to pick the inscription profession, but it's still going to be very worth your while continuing to watch these videos in this little mini series I'm doing, because a lot of the methodology that I use to put these builds together for the professions, you can replicate in your profession of choice. If you're trying to focus in something on blacksmithing, or you're trying to focus something in any of the other professions, the same sort of methodology, I wish I could talk today, will work. So let's take a little bit of a look at a bit of detail and see what we're doing. Like always, boys and girls, I have put all of this information in my Dragonflight cheat sheet. My channel supporters have early access to this. We have the full build in the inscription tab, along with things like the leveling path and some other basic information as well. So if you are a channel supporter, you can have access to this. It's linked in the Discord. That's my members here on YouTube, my Twitch subscribers, and of course my wonderful Patreons. If you fall into one of those categories, make sure to jump into the Discord and have a little bit of a look at the sheet for yourself. But the basics are pretty simple for this one. Inscription is clearly going to be one of those professions you're going to have to choose one direction or the other at the start of the expansion, and it's going to be a bit of a flip of the coin, from my opinion at least, which one's going to be the more profitable choice. If you go archiving, you're clearly going to be going the Dark Moon route. We've talked about Dark Moon decks plenty enough on the channel. We won't go into too much detail in this video. But your alternative is Rune Binding. Rune Binding, the one that really stands out from this spec tree, is of course making the two-handed staves. Evokers is the big one. Everybody was telling me that Evokers are going to be using these two-handed staffs or staves. I never know which one to choose. I think staves is the technical term. Evokers are going to be using those. It's also the agility ones. So there's going to be plenty of people that are going to be looking at getting their hands on these. And if you focus in on them early, there should be some really good opportunities for gold making. But what's the prerequisites and what's the leveling path for this? Well, my first recommendation, more than anything, is level your inscription. You're going to need inscription at the very least to be skill 50. If you can get it, further than 50, great. But through the trainer and through just crafting some basic stuff, you're only going to be able to get to level 50. I'll leave a link in the description down below for my basic leveling path to 50 in inscription. But once you get to 50, you'll unlock 2 spec trees, and that's going to be crucial for this because we're going to dip into a couple of different spec trees to get this working efficiently. The second thing you're probably going to need to start working towards, you may not be able to do this straight away, but you're going to need to work towards getting your profession gear in order. Your Scribe's Resplendent Quill is something that you actually get to make as a scribe yourself, which is a nice little luxury. Usually, your own profession can make one of the accessories, but in this scenario, as a scribe, you get to make your quill. That's going to give you plus 10 inscription. And you're going to be seeking out the expertise of jewel crafters on your realm. Jewel crafting actually makes both your accessories, the Magnificent Margin Magnifier and the Fine Print Trifocals. You want to get your hands on one of these because they both give you 6 bonus skill points. Considering we're trying to create a weapon here, a two-handed weapon, these weapons are going to go all the way up to quality 5, and you are going to need to absolutely min-max your skill as much as we can if you want to be able to be making the heroic or the mythic item level versions of these at those top quality levels as well. Spec tree time then. Let's take a little bit of a look where we start. We're going to start with Rune Binding, but we're not going to fill it out fully to begin with. All we want to really do is unlock the 2 patterns, and we want to do that as quick as possible. The quickest path to doing this is to put 10 points in Rune Binding, 10 points in wood carving, and then 5 points in staves. The 5 points will give you both the Illuminating Pillar of the Isles and the Kinetic Pillar of the Isles. These are the 2 weapons we're going to be looking to craft. We're going to be looking to make them as higher quality as possible. So just 25 points to begin with. You should be able to get those 25 points very quickly, very, very efficiently, because Inscription luckily has lots of things that you can craft. Get your first time craft bonuses, use those first time craft bonuses to get that 25 skill points nice and quickly. Get those 2 weapons unlocked. Once the 2 weapons are unlocked, we can start looking at trying to make them at better quality. The Illuminating Pillar of the Isles is your intellect variant, and the Kinetic Pillar of the Isles is the agility version. There's a good chance that there's a whole bunch of classes that are going to want to get their hands on one of these, and being able to get the patterns quickly so that any work order that does start to come through, you can start fulfilling them. Now, of course, just unlocking the patterns isn't going to mean that you can make them at very good quality. What you see on screen here is the end result once you've min-maxed everything. But you're probably only going to be able to create these at quality 1, quality 2 when you first get going. But trust me, that will be good enough. People will they'll just want one to begin with. People can always recraft it and get it upgraded later if needs be. Once we put some points in rune binding though, we actually switch it over. Now that we've got the recipes, our focus should be to try and get as many skill points as efficiently as possible. And this is where we actually switch over to the Rune Mastery. Rune Mastery has its first initial node, Rune Mastery, which is, I've mentioned this previously in other little build videos, one of the more efficient ways of gaining skill points, simply because you get 1 skill point for every knowledge that you spend in the node. Plus, there is, I think, plus 5, plus 10, plus 15. There's plus 20 skill points just from putting points in here. So if you put 30 points in, you actually get 50 skill points out, which is really, really super powerful. So you're going to push all of your points into Rune Mastery until you've got 30 points here. This is also going to give you the benefit of it's really going to help you when it comes to crafting your inks. It's going to help you crafting those intermediate items. Anybody that's played with Inscription will know that you end up making a whole bunch of chilled runes. You then turn a bunch of those into runed Wraithbarks, and that's the component that is needed to go into your high tier cosmic ink. If you want to be crafting these at quality 2 or quality 3 yourself, you are going to need that expertise in crafting inks, and luckily we can do a bit of a combo here. Points in Rune Mastery is going to help us with inks, but also it's generic skill points which will help us make those two-handed staves more efficiently. We don't want to max this out all the way. Going all the way to 40 doesn't really offer us any benefits. And by this point, we're going to be, 50, 60 points in, and we're going to be really starting to struggle for knowledge points at this point. For reference, this entire process may take people a couple of weeks to achieve. This isn't going to be something you're going to be able to do instantly, but you will be able to get there eventually. Once we've got 30 points in Rune Mastery, we can then start just filling back out this tree. And I would suggest starting at the bottom, putting your points in staves to begin with. If you remember, we started by only putting 5 points in here. That was just to learn the patterns. But continuing to put points in this first will give us inspiration. More inspiration means as and when we're crafting these to fulfill for work orders, there's a chance we'll be creating higher quality ones. And more importantly, just flat out skill bonuses when crafting these as well. Like I said, skill is going to be super important. We're going to need as many skill points as we can get our hands on. And towards the end as well, we get the ability to use the Illustrious Insight. Illustrious Insight is a finishing reagent. It's a finishing reagent that basically, once again, gives you the ability to increase your skill by 30 points. Just a flat 30-point bonus when you're crafting something, with the downside that it's going to cost you 50 Artisan's Metal. Artisan's Metal is somewhat of a limited commodity, so you're going to want to use these sparingly, and depending on how the work order system plays out, you may choose to use or choose not to use these. It is entirely up to you. But unlocking the ability to, all the same, is going to be crucial. There is actually the theory that if you want to be making mythic quality two-handed staffs with quality 5, the very, very best, that you might actually be forced into having to use these. But we'll see how it plays out once the game goes live. So at this point, once you've started to put some more points into here and you fill this one out, it's going to take you a couple of weeks quite clearly to be able to fill this out with the pacing of knowledge points. We suspect that, we don't know exact numbers, but we suspect anywhere between sort of 10 to 15, maybe as high as 17, 18, 19 knowledge points is going to be accessible per week. So it's going to take you a while. The total build for this, once you've filled all of this out, is what, 30, 60, 90, plus the 20 points, 30 points in the Rune Mastery. So you're looking at, what's that, like 120 points? Quick maths. 120 or so points in this is going to get you fully built out and will allow you to create weapons such as these. You can see here our skill is now way surpassed 300, 357. This is once you've maxed everything. So once you've got 100 knowledge with, 100 base skill in the profession, plus you've got your weapon tools and you've put the points where I suggest, you should have somewhere around 350 skill. This seems like overkill, but let's not forget that when that Mythic Raider comes along and they provide you that concentrated primal infusion, that's going to add 50 recipe difficulty. You're going to need to take that into consideration. So at this point, you should, in theory, hopefully be able to craft any work order for these pretty efficiently. Quality 5s, no problem whatsoever. And hopefully, if you're doing that before everybody else, you'll make the big gold from doing such. And with the kickback, the bonus being if that at least your inks, you'll be able to craft good quality inks at the same time as doing this. Meaning that if you then, once you've finished making, finished putting points in here, specializing this way, you can obviously spread your points out and maybe pick another build to focus on and continue on. But this certainly should keep you busy for the first few weeks of the Dragonflight expansion for sure. So I hope that helps you. A lot of people were, you know, like I said, less than impressed that I didn't focus on this when we did the tier list. But hopefully this should give you a bit of an overview to what Inscription looks like if you are going to be one of those that maybe forgoes the Dark Moon craze. I should obviously emphasize here that if you go this path, it probably means that you're not spending points in Dark Moon, you're not picking up the Dark Moon crafts, you're probably not going to be able to make any gold at all off the Dark Moon market. You know, this is the nature of the spec trees. You have to focus in one direction, and you have to forego the options somewhere else. But I'll leave it there for this video, boys and girls. Let me know in the comments down below if there's another professional or another spec you want me to focus on. I am reading the comments. I don't often have time to answer every single question in there, but you can always jump into the Discord if needs be to ask your questions there as well. But I'll leave it here for today. Hope that helps. Give the video a like if it does. Subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll catch you all next time. Peace.